What's happening, y'all? It's the drive time edition of Locked On Jaguars. Your man Tony Wiggins here on a hump day. Hey, I'm glad you made us your absolute first listener of the day. I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about new things. Is there some new people on this roster that can help this team get over the hump as they head to London to face the Miami Dolphins? If you let them, they might be able to help you. I'll tell you who I'm talking about in just a second.
On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, welcome to Locked On Jaguars here on a Wednesday. I am Tony Wiggins, and we thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. I know it's a little late today because it's a drive time show here, but we got some good stuff coming out to you. I want to tell you what I'm going to talk about. By the way, we're free on all platforms too. We're not just your first listen. We're your first listen and your free listen. There you go, here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to be short and sweet today, man. I'm going to tell you right now that I think the Jaguars have a good shot to beat Miami this week. I know I said that last week against Tennessee, but I'm going to say it again. And I'm trying to speak stuff into existence, man. So trying to give you guys something to be optimistic about. But the Dolphins are reeling. They have some injuries. They're playing with a backup quarterback, even though he is experienced. He is a backup quarterback. So we'll see if the Jaguars can sneak one in and get them a victory there. Also, something I mentioned in the open. I want the Jaguars to reach down that bench and find somebody that can help them now and try to get over the hump, just like some sort of player. Now, on offense, there's a guy that they got, and we were all really, really excited about that player when they went out and got this player in free agency, but he hasn't done much. We'll see if they can figure out a way to use him. But really on defense, there's somebody that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about defense in the second segment, the offense in the third segment. But before that, once I finish this opening, you're gonna understand where I'm going. My man Demetrius, and he's been a guest of the show, and Lori Fitzpatrick, she's been a guest of the show. I'm going to say both of them because I can't tell you who tweeted it first, but I know both of them tweeted it. They did a little collage of film work on my man Dewey Wingard, right? Making business decisions on how to tackle Derrick Henry. Now, if you're a cornerback, like a slot corner, I feel you. Nobody wants to hit a 260-pound, 6'3" Mack truck running at you with 4.5 speed, right? I don't blame you making a business decision. In fact, I wouldn't mind if you just jumped on him the way one of those hunting dogs jumps on the back of one of those wild boars and just kind of rides him until you get help from some of your teammates. Dewey Wingard ain't that. Dewey Wingard is a safety. And he's yoked up a little bit now. And he has a little attitude towards some of the media sometimes. And he's a guy that has sort of taken on this little bit of a role of, I'm not going to say teacher's pet kind of dude, but Urban loves him because of his enthusiasm. He's always flexing his muscles when he makes tackles. And him and Caleb, they will let you know now when not even when they make a tackle. If they're anywhere near a play, they're going to celebrate. That's a lot of love that you're giving your teammates when you do that. And they will let themselves be seen. I saw Caleb without a helmet on the other day, and it was actually a penalty on the play. But that's neither here nor there because Caleb had his best game. So the thing is for me is when I saw the collage of plays, it made me realize that Dewey didn't even try to tackle Derrick Henry. He didn't even try to get in his way. At one point, it looked like he was on the goal line. It looked like he was even hesitant to run into that hole. You can't tell me that Andre Cisco is worse than that. Can you? Could Cisco be that bad? First of all, let me get to this. Between Andre Cisco, Walker Little, ATN couldn't help himself. I get that. Are the Jaguars, Urban mentions college so much. I had a guy come in here and tell me today, I'll be glad when he stops talking about college. I'll be glad when he stops making these references to Alabama and references to what happened in college and what happened. That's part of the problem. You want people to sort of forget that because folks aren't going to forget the fact that every time they want to talk about you, they say, well, he's not a pro coach. He's a college coach, right? So you would think you would want folks to forget that part about your resume because they keep bringing it up, right? But no, he keeps bringing it up. He keeps referencing what it was like in college and how in college is this and how in college is that. I got a little news flash for Urban. All right, in the last minute and a half of this segment, you only bring up and reference stuff like that when it was a level higher than the one you used to work at. You don't compare down. You always compare up if you're going to sort of puff your chest out and talk about how things used to be and how they do this and how they do that. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I remember when I was in active duty, and then I went to the reserves. And in the reserves, I thought they had all of this beautiful equipment, but I thought everybody didn't take it seriously. You know why they didn't take it seriously? Because it's not what they did every day. Most of those guys were civilian law enforcement officers. So when they came in there, it was like, we're only here for a day and a half, Wig. You're taking it too serious. I came from a situation where that's all I did every day, 24 hours a day. So it was serious to me. So active duty is looked at as up compared to reserves because you're only there for the weekend, right? Well, he keeps talking about college as if it is above the NFL. It's not, man. It's not. Nobody wants to hear about that. You're here now. You're here. You're in the NFL. You have to prove it here. What happened in college doesn't matter anymore. Are you redshirting people? Because that doesn't work in the NFL. And that's some of the things I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about those things. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to mention on today's show, if there's a way I could get somebody in the lineup, and if this person doesn't play, let's find out why he's not playing. I'll talk to you about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars after I tell these Jaguar fans how to save some money on gasoline. That's right. This is Tony Wiggins with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. It's one word now. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play right now. Now listen, there's a promo code attached to it. It's called Touchdown. That's the promo code you use for touchdowns. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So the first time you use it, you're going to save up to 50 cents per gallon and you're going to get it cash back. Now, here's what happened. It goes back to your account on your card. You can empty that thing out and put it in your bank account. You can put it, you can PayPal it, put it on eGifts or an Amazon card, for anything else. But you can go in and withdraw it whenever you want from your Get Upside account. Now, listen, you just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code Touchdown for you to start saving money on gasoline. How about $200-$300 a month? You think you like that? I'm sure you will. The app is called Get Upside. The promo code is Touchdown. So we're back and we're talking about, well, we ain't never gone nowhere, but we're talking about the potential of finding extra help. Finding extra help on the roster. This might sound weird that we're looking down the roster for help when you think they need continuity from the starters. But what's happening is guys are starting to get hurt. DJ Chark's out with an injury. Brandon Linder's out with an injury. So a lot of the guys that are leaders, guys that are, we're counted on coming into this season in one way or another are getting hurt. So you need people to step up. You need other guys to step into those roles. But now you're going to have to dig down into your depth to see if you can find players that are going to be able to make a contribution. So defensively, they've struggled in the secondary some, right? So when they drafted Andre Cisco out of Syracuse this year in the third round, even though he missed most of his last season in college, they said he was healthy. And first of all, there are people that don't believe you need to draft injured players in the first place, all right? But they said he was healthy. They said he'd be all right. He moved around in camp. He ran around in camp. He looked pretty good. He looked fast. And there were folks that didn't even think Dewey Wingard was going to be on the roster. But there he was. You look up and Dewey Wingard's on the roster. Not only on the roster, he's starting, right? And while he's had some good moments, for the most part, when you slow the film down and you watch it the next day, you still see what you see. So I'm wondering, is there a way we can try to start planning on Andre Cisco playing? It doesn't seem like anyone has an explanation as to why he's not playing or when he is going to play. And here is the problem with that. You drafted him in the 3rd round for a team that's 1-15 and still struggling against the pass. Why is he not on the field? At some point, playing time has to either justify or not justify the folks you picked to play. That kid needs to be on the field, and he ain't learning jack standing on the sideline. You're 0-4. What could go worse? You already got a guy making business decisions not to tackle people. What can be worse? Is Cisco not going to tackle somebody? You think that's going to be worse? Well, guess what? Dewey Wingard is missing tackles. Is Cisco going to blow an assignment? You think that's a problem? Oh, no. Don't fret on that, because Dewey Wingard is allowing people to catch the ball. Oh, I get it. If you put him out there and all of a sudden he can't play, it's going to make you look bad for picking him. I got it. Ding, it just came up. Newsflash. It looks bad that you picked him anyway because you ain't playing him. Now I know there's somebody out there going, here is Wig again, thinking he knows what's better for the team than the coach. Oh, no, I do not. What I think is, when a coach picks a guy and says that if it wasn't for injury, he would have been a 1st-round pick, and the team is 1-15, I think said coach either plays the guy, or if he doesn't play the guy, it's because the team is winning without him, and the guy was a value pick. But the Jaguars are 0-4, and they're struggling at the spot where said guy plays. Therefore, I just believed him on draft night. I believe him on draft night. You said he was good, I believed you. You said Walker Little was good, I believed you. If Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor were that good, why'd you pick Little? You had other stuff you could have done, right? I believed you. Don't get me started now on what I believe, because I also believe Asante Samuel Jr. was better than Tyson Campbell. But you picked Tyson Campbell, so guess what? I give you the benefit of the doubt. I believe you. So this ain't about me. This is about Cisco. Go over there and run into him one day and say, hey, man, some dude on a podcast was sitting there telling them they need to play you. Man, he don't know more than the coach. Watch what he tells you. Like hell he don't. I want to play. I want a guy that wants to go on the field and prove that, look, if he makes mistakes, he's going to learn from them. You got another guy that making mistakes, and he don't, I ain't going to say you don't care, but from what I heard, he'll tell you the kisses, you know what, whenever he gets a chance to. So my thing is, why don't you play the kid? You drafted him, play him. What's the problem? Are you afraid of something? How you redshirting people, and people are now questioning whether you even going to be here next year, but the players are getting redshirted. If you drafted guys in the 2nd and 3rd round that cannot crack the 2 deep, something's wrong. That's not how team building works. I used to get on Dave Caldwell about team building all the time. Let me give you a good example of team building before I get to the offensive side of the ball. And it ain't Walker Little, so I ain't ruin that for you, right? But let me get to Dave Caldwell. I remember when they had Telvin Smith and they drafted Miles Jack, but they were a bad team, so they drafted Miles and said, you know what, we'll figure it out. Well, they tried to put Miles at Sam, and then they tried to put Miles at Mike, and it didn't work. Telvin had his whatever happened with him, and he decided he won't play football anymore. So when Telvin decided he was leaving football, they put Jack at weak side linebacker at will, and what happened? He took off. Man, he took off. Here's the thing, though. The year before they moved to, Miles to Will, yeah, when he was playing Mike, they drafted another weak side linebacker by the name of Quincy Williams. But then they had to move Miles to weak side linebacker. Now Quincy Williams is his backup. Now they changed defenses, and there's no need for two weak side linebackers unless one of them can play in the middle, which one of them really can't because Miles can't. He's struggling again. So now there's no room for Quincy Williams. If you think back to the team that was very complimentary of the Jaguars for drafting Quincy Williams, it was the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. The defensive coordinator was Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh's now in New York. And here we go. Folks thought Quincy Williams went to New York to play with his brother Quentin. He went to New York to play for Robert Saleh and play the weak side linebacker position, which was the same defense that he was playing here in Jacksonville. And what has happened? Quincy Williams all of a sudden is a good football player. See, it's not that they didn't pick a good player. It's that they had bad team building practices because they were never going to be able to get him on the field because of Miles. See how it works? Bad team building. Third round pick that never saw the light of day, but he's a good football player. I'm going to tell you who I think on offense they're struggling. They're holding back a little bit, and I'm wondering why. I'm going to give it to you in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Look, man, you need to get on that Built Bar. I'm telling you right now, Built Bar is the cold hard truth, and you know it because that's all I ever talk about. Built Bar, Built Bar, Built Bar, Built Bar. Well, I'm talking about it now, and they have 9 delicious flavors plus a special edition flavor that they have out right now. You can find out all about it at @bar_built on Twitter or go to builtbar.com and check out all of the new information. Now, my favorite is the salted caramel, and I love it. And the macros also work out for me. I love those too because I'm trying to work out, and I think I'm doing all right, but I'm trying to work out. So now I eat healthy, but it also tastes good. So you can do the same thing, man. Just go to builtbar.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your next order of Built Bars. That's right. Learn everything you can about them. If you want to get an assorted box, do that, but find your favorite flavor and stand on it, man. I stand on that salt and caramel every time somebody throws another flavor in my face. It's good, but that salted caramel is my boo. So you can do it at builtbar.com. Use the promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your next order. We're going to roll along here on a Wednesday, on a hump day. I'm going to let you guys know right now. I'm advocating for this team to find some playmakers, and you can't find them unless you put them in the game and see what they can do, right? As the depth starts to get stretched, I think the Jaguars need to give my man Johnson, the receiver that they got, Tyron Johnson, the receiver that they got from the Chargers during cuts. So here's my thing. If he hasn't caught on to the offense, find out what he does well and put him in that situation and let him do it. Kid catches passes from Justin Herbert, he ought to be able to catch just as many passes from Trevor Lawrence, right? We believe Trevor's a franchise quarterback. Find out what routes he runs and what he does well and get the ball in his hands. You wanted speed on the team, and that's exactly what he is. But you're running too many guys in and out of the organization. Devin Smith is gone. He was let go from the practice squad. They finally gave up on the experiment of Philip Dorsett. They let him go off the practice squad. You got guys, it's like a revolving door of these back-end guys, and it's really starting to get unnerving and really appear that these guys just don't know what they're doing in the front office. So at some point, you're going to have to find out if Tyron Johnson can play. I think he can because when I saw him in the preseason, I was thinking that it was a situation where I thought it was a situation where, look, I don't know how they're going to figure out a way to keep him with the Chargers, but they need to because he can play. Because they weren't playing their starter, so this dude was lighting it up, route running and all of that stuff. So to me, I think Tyron Johnson needs his shot. I really do. I'm trying to read something here on the ticker, as you can tell, but it's no big deal. I think Tyron Johnson needs his shot for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be successful. Plan. I want you to play Walker Little as well, but that's not going to happen. Now, I will tell you what I saw in the preseason. Walker looked like he was a little bit like he needed to build some strength in his lower body. He's a big kid, but he looks like he needed to build some strength in his lower body, and that's fine. But then don't you have to know this? Now, I think they're going to try to go back and say, well, we weren't able to really look at guys in the draft and weren't able to work guys out. So some of those guys weren't ready and we had to go on what we had to go on. Whoopie-doo. You know what? Other teams had the same problem. They weren't working guys out either. This is where you lean on your scouts. And if the scouts had more, you may have had a lot of familiarity from recruiting, but your scouts knew more about what those guys had done in the past season than you and those coaches did. This is where some of the decisions I believe that were made that I have heard rumors about will bite this team in the butt. They don't have enough information on their opponents, and they don't have enough information on the personnel that they have on the team. Everything is a tryout. We're still trying people out. I heard that word this week too. You talking about college. I heard the word tryout again this week. Are you kidding me? It doesn't work like that. Time is of the essence. People around here are tired of losing. They're just sick of it. They're sick of it. I want to thank you for making Locked On Jaguars your first listen. Now, your second listen should be the Peacock and Williamson podcast, hosted by Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson, an NFL analyst and a former NFL scout. I just talked about scouts. They will give it to you like none other. So listen, make your second listen, the Peacock and Williamson podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, we're going to London. I'm thinking that the Jaguars have a chance to at least be very, very competitive. If they don't, then they're going to have some real trouble and a lot of soul searching to do during the bye week. But until then, you guys make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And remember, we're free on all platforms. And we thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Take care of each other. We'll see you guys on tomorrow with another edition of Locked On Jaguars.